Just a very quick one, actually. Can you put your hand up if you've got a production or a talent or an idea or something that you want to get into the digital media space? Thank you. Are the rest of you train spotters then? I think we're in the right place. What we're going to do is we're going to wander around Angel Gambino, Jonathan Jowitt, Matt Locke, myself, Morgan Holt. We've got a few case studies that have been in and around b.TWEEN to have a look at, and the idea is really just to give you a feeling for how commissioners think. I think we'll all just do a couple of minutes on ourselves and just where we come from. We're not traditional TV commissioners. We're much more, sort of people in the digital media space. I'll start with myself. I go through the last couple of roles I've been in. In 2000, I was brought into Endemol to bring Big Brother to this country, particularly with the interactive formats. And I worked with Endemol for 5 or 6 years. Obviously, Big Brother was the centrepiece for that. But I was probably pitching around 40 or 50 different interactive projects a year across 5 years. So I'm very familiar with what it's like on that side of the desk. And it's a fairly thankless task, and you have to do a lot of work to get a few baby steps forwards, but I do understand it very well. One of the frustrations that I had was dealing with the Yahoos and MSNs and Vodafones and Threes and Oranges, unfortunately, Jonathan, to try and get them to think like commissioners, to try and get them to be thinking in terms of how to brief creatives and producers to make something. And so I did a strategy piece for Three, the mobile phone company, and eventually went over and worked for them for a couple of years to help them move from being a mobile phone company into a mobile media company. And one of the things I did there was to set up a commissioning unit, so that was the beginnings of mobile media commissioning. More recently, I'm just about to start with the ad agency, the Engine Group, where I'll have a roster of about 50 brands from Abbey National 118 through to BMW, Mini and so on. And my role will be to take them into the digital space via content, and so very specifically to find projects and individuals and producers who can make interesting digital experiences on behalf of those brands. So it's a very sort of new form of commissioning and something that I'm very happy to be a part of, but it's definitely where I think is the future of broadcasting, and I think most of these guys will probably be in the same sort of boat. So why don't we have a couple of minutes from Angel, and then Jonathan, and then Matt, and then we can get into some of the pitches.
Yeah, I guess one of the things that I would highlight is I think there's been a general buzz probably over the last year or so, and I guess in some ways much longer than that, around participation programming or highly immersive formats. And so when I was talking about, just the straightforward licensing of basic video clips are not really working in the social networking environment. What is working is really understanding how people can participate in the entire storyline and looking at entirely new formats. So I'll give a brief example and then put it out to all of you, because we're definitely looking for many, many more ideas like this. But we've got a series coming up called Kate Modern, and some of you will be familiar with Lonely Girl 15 from the States, one of the big internet phenomena of last year. And essentially it's that new kind of reality format where it's not just the question of whether it's scripted or unscripted, but it's also taking the online experience of the community and the scripted and non-scripted environment, and also having events, real events out in the world that relate to that storyline. And the storylines truly can go any which particular way, although they are generally unscripted. So with Kate Modern, it will be the follow-up spin-off of Lonely Girl 15, Kate Modern, play on Tate Modern. And essentially Kate's a 19-year-old living in London, and she's got a great Aussie friend who I find endlessly entertaining, slightly promiscuous, real naughty girl, but very fun. And what we're trying to do with that format is create, a blogging environment where it's a video-centric profile, where there's a lot of storytelling going on from many different characters' perspective, and then different people throughout the community will be able to also participate in that storyline. And we're also integrating music events and looking at potentially a way to break new bands throughout this story format. So when we talk about highly immersive or participative programming or new types of genres or formats evolving, I would just start to look at, really breaking away from the broadcast paradigm and that sequential series. So those are some of the things that we're looking at, and applications that can actually help drive that participation as well.